Hello again, and welcome to another episode of Boiling with Passion. And we are today reviewing or previewing the Crystal Palace game, as well as reviewing some nice takes in terms of what's going on with Manchester United and other teams around the league. So we're going to start with the Crystal Palace game because it's the most important game to us. So get used to it, people. We're going to be previewing Arsenal games. So it's a very important game. I think it's an extremely important game, and
well, you're not going to introduce me.
I'm going to introduce everyone. I'm going to have a little talk. But then I'm going to introduce people, if that's okay.
Say that.
Yeah. So as I was saying, it's a very, very important game because for me, anyway, for someone who detests Manchester United, I want to go as close as I can to them and eventually above them. So I think getting 1 point behind, having played both European finalists and had a COVID outbreak in between, I think we'll be in okay shape. So I want to see what everyone else thinks. So now I'll talk to Chris, aka CK, as well as George and Z. So how are we all doing, boys?
Is that we're doing good? I'm drinking in these tears. I'm not even gonna lie right now because you know what's happened right now is there's been a lot of people that have flip-flopped on the timeline and a lot of big accounts that have said there's no way it's gonna happen. The amount of people that tried to cook our predictions, and you know what? It literally outlined exactly the issues that they're having. In fact, today when you look at Leicester and when we get onto it, the idea that they lack a transition control, they lack a coherent build-up, they rely on individual brilliance. You know, these things, the issue of balance with Ronaldo, what was that going to mean for Jadon Sancho, who, by the way, 7 games, 0 goals and assists, hooked off games pretty consistently, going to be made the scapegoat. Like, these were things that we were saying in the videos. So I'm loving it. You know, I mean, I got pretty cooked on the international break for some takes, which everyone seems to now start slowly being like, oh, maybe he had a point. Oh, maybe these Bob guys weren't being biased, you know. It was ball over passion for a reason. Like, you know, we don't like United, but I mean, we were speaking facts.
I mean, I don't like cheaters either, so I don't like United in general. So I think if we're going to talk about United, we will talk about them. But I think let's talk about this Crystal Palace game. What are we thinking? Any initial thoughts on the game?
Well, for me, in general, Palace they've got 2 losses versus Chelsea and Liverpool, 4 draws, and then 1 win. So I've been hearing that they're better than us right now and all this stuff. And I think it's a bit inflated on the Vieira stuff because I think more Arsenal fans are praising Palace than anything. I think Palace I do like Palace. They do show some good stuff. I think Vieira's made some good changes, but in general, they can kill a team on the counter. You saw that versus Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
Saw that versus Chelsea at times, but they didn't have Gallagher. And we saw that versus Liverpool. Liverpool, Klopp was saying, is one of the hardest games he's beat a team 3-0 in. Probably the hardest, which I don't know what you take from that because they did beat them 3-0. But I think Palace do have threats on the counter and do have threats in general, but the system Vieira's trying to implement needs 2 key players that he's lacking, a right back and a DM. But apart from that, they are a good team, and I think.
But Chris, they're a little bit naive. Like let's call a spade what a spade is. You know, so what they do is like they have a press, which, you know, we were here in preseason commenting on how great the press was going to be, but fundamentally, if you don't have a base behind you to support those attacks and transition control, it's going to be really poor. So what they do is they've got Kouyaté in a lone pivot, really typically, and then they got Ward, who is not the greatest technically, and who they rely on to progress the ball because Gallagher is really good as that interior in the right center mid, and he plays that role for, you know, the England U21s really quite well. But ultimately, Ward is going to be isolated, and they're going to have Kouyaté in the lone pivot where they could really run into some issues with Partey and ESR in particular. And even Odegaard, I'm gonna license in there because on the left side, Palace, while Zaha's tracked back a little bit, it's still Zaha, and you know it's not the greatest in terms of 2-way transition in the back. So I expect Odegaard to have a lot more freedom and a lot more kind of space to operate. And when you give him space, he will find you a final ball. That's the one thing. Like, I'm not Odegaard's biggest fan, but a big issue why we struggled in Brighton was vacating our middle, exactly what Palace are going to do. So I really hope that Mikel has learned, because it was a poor decision in build-up, which we highlighted kind of in the review. We can't be doing that. But if we have our typical build-up with, Tomiyasu in the back as opposed to one of our midfield, and we keep our pivot there, we're going to outnumber them. And, that press is going to be very naive, especially at home. People are discounting our home form and Palace's away form. If you look at it, particularly in this season, they've struggled away from home. And when they've done it, their transition forwards have been key. It hasn't been their press. They've looked a lot more compact at home, but they haven't done so
Mm,
away. While Arsenal
mm,
at home have had a lot better technical quality, not so much away. You look at the Amex, you look at some of our actual home appearances, which, by the way, were Wimbledon, Norwich, Spurs, all great performances. So I really do think that we're going to see another exploitation. We'll get into like specific predictions, but those are like the broad feelings about what I'm feeling. I think we can go into specifics more, but yeah, Palace. I think people are looking at nostalgia of Vieira returning and giving
mm.
that credit more than their actual run of form and performances deserve. In the sense that Palace, while they are Palace and mid-table, they haven't done anything elite in terms of their results or their output. They haven't been overperforming or underperforming. They've been quite steady Eddie in terms of what I expect from them, just as a team and quality. And I think Vieira's done well in certain things, but he has been naive. And we saw this at Nice, by the way. He had a great start to his Nice career, and then it really pittered off. And the reason was because he wasn't able to keep a compact system. So yeah, I'm nervous because I don't want to see Patty like that, but unfortunately, I just can't see
No.
anything more than
Mm.
an issue.
I mean, for me, I think the main thing I take away from the build-up and what you guys have both said is, I do agree that Martin will have them on guard in going forward, definitely. But when you look at how they're going to, when they're looking at the way that they vacate the middle, especially when you have a single pivot in Kouyaté, it allows us to overrun them in midfield, and you're going to have very, very key battles in Partey versus Milojevic, as well as you're going to have Gallagher coming back. And the main thing, coming back the other side towards our defense, so whoever, be it Lokonga or El Neni, will have to deal with him. But the main thing I want to get across is we can't persist with that 3-2-5 with Lokonga or El Neni dropping to the 3. We need to keep that 3 shape back to what it was when it was working. Keep Tomiyasu central, Tommy, Gabriel, White, or Tommy, White, Gabriel, sorry, in that order. Keep the 3 that's worked in the past, and then keep the structure in a similar capacity. So
It's about, but Curran, just really
yeah,
quickly, because it's not just like the individuals. I need people to start to understand, like when we have a 3-2-5, and what the advantages of what a pivot does is what role you give Thomas Partey. That's really the crux of why we've struggled. Every time that we've struggled this season is when Thomas is isolated kind of in the back in that low pivot. He's not able to progress the ball, and we end up having an attack that's stale. And that's because we don't have central overloads. What Thomas gives you, and I don't think people are understanding what he is that when he is allowed to be advanced, he lets us attack centrally. Whether that was Burnley, which, by the way, we highlighted it because Burnley was the most clear decision of a first half with Thomas deep, like at the Amex, and then
mhm.
switched when Lokonga played the deep role and allowed Thomas to be higher up. And in that second half, that's when we played very well. We had a lot of chances, and it kind of carried on in the North London derby. Like when you had Shaka, who, by the way, was higher than most people, but that was just because of possession. It wasn't because of role. In role, Thomas Partey was the one that was dictating play. And, that's the role that you really need to give them, in terms of the personnel. It's not just having a 3-2-5, because we did have that at Brighton. We did.
Yeah,
But it's the idea that you need to have Thomas further up, and you need to give Odegaard a free role. And if those things happen, those two will play very well.
yeah. But the thing I was trying to say is that it's not about Thomas, it's about Lokonga and his defensive security in that 3. That was the issue. It wasn't the fact that obviously you'd want both Lokonga and Thomas to push up a bit, but having Tommy go 1-on-1 out wide against Cucurella in that Bryson game was what cooked us in the end, because we had because we didn't rotate from out to in, so we didn't have Tommy drop in. We had Lokonga drop in, so we could push Tommy wide and go 1-on-1 with him, and he was getting cooked. So if you we have a structure that works. I don't think there's I don't their forwards aren't hugging the touchline. I don't think Ward will be hugging the touchline in terms of fullbacks going forward, or any, or even Zaha or an Elise. None of these guys are going to be hugging the touchline. These are going to be they're going to try and use their forwards inside. They're going to try and overload the half spaces and try and create overloads there. And then you have to look at how to deal with that. It's not the same as Brighton where you had Cucurella out wide. They're going to try it there. So their strength is inside essentially when they come forward. So
their strength remains in their forwards. Like they're typically Crystal Palace, right? Like they're strong transition forwards that are great in terms of outlets, but also just in space. And so I think like the big thing that you're going to be looking at is trying to control how they play out from the back, really, because that's really where you're going to get them. And I think just making sure that Milivojevic is just going to get his one typical goal. Like that guy always scores against us. I don't know what it is. Like I don't know the stats for you guys, but I swear he scored probably 3 or 4 times in the last like 5 games against us. Like he's very consistent in terms of scoring. But I just think that the way that Patty has them set up, they're just midfield can't support really. Bar Gallagher, who's a really good interior, and he is two ways, but I really just don't think that their midfield is going to be able to kind of hold it. And I think the last part is just our technical ability at home is far better than what it is away. And so I really do expect us to be able to play the way that we want to play. And I think it'll be kind of slim pickings. I think Palace will want to hit us on the counter, and they will have chances. But I think Gabriel's done really well this season in terms of getting more of a leadership role. And so I think if you're looking at ways that they could hurt us, I really think that he'll snap up Edouard pretty well, who likes to drift left. You know, if you do analyze a lot of Edouard's great stuff, even for Celtic, like he is a center forward, but he likes to drop a little bit more on the left channel. So I think it's going to be important to watch that. But, you know, Zaha will always be a danger in terms of up top, and he'll always want to play against us well. But if you basically stop Zaha and if you basically stop or rather turn their press, it's going to be a very easy game. That's essentially where the game's going to be won.
I mean, the other thing is their block is a 4-3-3 block. They don't, or they use a 4-4-1-4-1 block. They don't tend to block everyone these days. The modern Premier League usually uses a 4-4-2 mid block or even a low block for other teams. They tend to defend in a 4-1-4-1 or a 4-3-3 block, which is a bit different, and sometimes it can be exploited because you can get at Kouyaté, especially if in transition, because they set up in this 3-1-6 and Kouyaté is just on an island by himself. You can break their press and get through them.
Hasn't Kouyaté not been playing this season? That's what I
No,
remember.
Kouyaté's been playing, but Milivojevic came in recently. So I think Milivojevic will be the lone pivot. But either or do really the same thing. I think Milivojevic and Anderson on the ball try to play the long diagonals to Zaha or Mitchell overlapping on the left. And they try to do a 3-1-6, but when they do the 3-1-6, they want Ward to be the sixth man, and he fluctuates between doing it because I think he knows he's not fast enough to keep up with doing it. So then
they basically stopped since Liverpool, Chris. But the structure that we're trying to say.
Sorry, MacArthur covers Mitchell in the left half space when he bombs forward, and then they leave a lot of gaps.
Yeah, but the issue with the Kouyaté point was like that's how they started the season, and even in preseason, like their structure was having a lone pivot far more. Like, you know, when you say that they have a 4-3-3, it really is much more a 3-1-6, really, in how they perform it. And ever since that 3-0 defeat at Liverpool, like Milivojevic did step in for Kouyaté, but you know, similar isolated points. Like they have that one anchor in there that has a huge gap with the midfield, and they're not very good at keeping the space. And so what you're going to find is their interiors are going to be a lot higher up than whoever it is, whether it was Kouyaté or Milivojevic. They're both going to have their anchor in the back there that isn't surrounded by men, and they're going to be isolated. So if we can outnumber them in midfield, you're going to be able to kind of spring possession on them. The only issue is outlets, right? Because they do have outlets, and that's kind of why they leave that anchor so isolated. because they have the outlets up top that they kind of bypass the middle. It's very rare that they do central overloads or whatnot. Typically, what you see is Gallagher with a nice switch out to the left, and Salha will carry and take them up the pitch like that. That's really their big play. But in that time, they've got a big opportunity on the left half space there, which is why I see Odegaard, even though I don't like him, as so pivotal. I think Odegaard has all the makings to have a great game against Palace. He should be man of the match. He should be. Like, these are the conditions for him to thrive.
I think Emil will end up being man of the match just because of the Ward
He's a
battle.
better player.
That and the Ward battle. If you watch the Brighton game, it was very much
Ward will be
Welbeck versus Ward, and Welbeck killed him.
Yeah.
Ended up creating a lot of chances in the first half, despite Palace dominating on the ball. Their right hand side defensively always has issues because Guehi on the left centre back role is great 1v1 and great indoors, so he never really caused them problems. And Mitchell is very good indoors as well. So most teams tend to attack down their right hand side because it's slower and weaker. And Ward, if he loses his 1v1 battle, which he does regularly now, like versus Mane, versus even Son, nearly got him. So yeah, I think if ESR wins his battle, I think he will.
My one issue is like Ward is poor, but Gallagher is really good at dropping back. So
yes,
I think like the big space will be on the left, depending on the two. So while I think like ESR is a lot more direct and he'll find opportunities to be 1v1, he will burn a Ward when he does do that. But I think the space will be on the left. They are more compact on the right in general because IU also comes back. Like they do have forwards on that side that are diligent in coming back because they recognize Ward is so poor pace-wise. And so they do have like diligent workers there, which I think they might do well to kind of mark out of the game, especially with our left-hand side with Tierney and, ESR. They'll recognize that that's an issue for Ward. So they might clog it up. I just think the space will be on the left in this game. And in that case, Tomiyasu and Odegaard become really, really important, which is really good because I think Tomiyasu is the better ball player of that three. If we do go into a back three and we do want to progress, like our right-hand side is excellent, in terms of Partey, Tomiyasu, like that deep build-up on the right is more of the strength, which is why we've actually seen us attack more evenly this season. Like if you look at last season, we attacked, I think, 60 or 65% down the left. And this season, there's a far more even split about left and right. And that's totally because of Partey, but also, Tomiyasu that's come in as well. So I think on the left, you're going to see a bigger gap. I don't know. What do you think, Chris? Like, do you agree with that?
I do think our attack has been much, much more varied, even centrally. Maybe that's due to the teams we've played and what they do centrally, like Burnley leave space centrally, Brentford even leave space centrally. So maybe that's due to our teams, but we do a lot more down the right-hand side. Even versus Spurs, for example, 2 out of the 3 goals came from us moving through the right-hand side. So it is more varied with 3 new players in our build-up and more trust from everybody on our pitch, in our team. Like Partey at left half space needed. No, Partey's always been best in the right-hand side. He even played right back.
I think he's saying that because of what I said about there probably being a gap on the left-hand side and Lukonga being poor at the Amex. But no, look, I've said this for a lot of time, and I know people don't want to hear it, but El Neni, for me, has to play. And we have to have him slot in the middle of the 3 and let Gabriel be in the left of that 3 and build up. And, just let Thomas dictate. Let him be a conducting right, and, you're going to have Odegaard that's going to drop in and let Emil be in that left half space. Okay, like I think that's the play, and really you just need to make sure that the pivot are tight together. You just don't want a case of what we had where Partey was lone, and when you had 3, but Lukonga was part of the 3. You really need Gabriel in the back there. Let El Neni split the center backs, have White wide, and Tomiyasu can be a little bit higher up if he needs to, right? But when he steps up, you need to make sure that 3-2 kind of has El Neni and Partey really nice to each other, with El Neni central, but let Partey go up. Like that has to be the key. We need to see Burnley second half, not Burnley first half.
I think we're kind of like in the middle of looking at Palace's team and looking at them. They're directly in transition. But if you actually look back at Crystal Palace's games, they do look like a team that's quite naive in in the way they kind of build up, and it just seems to me like Vieira is trying something with these players that that they're not capable of yet, and it's why they look a lot more naive defensively than they did under Roy Hodgson, and it's particularly why I'm not really so worried about the game against Palace. I feel like Arsenal will hurt them, in defensively. But it's just for me again. I'm just worried about the in transition how we cope with Zaha and Jordan Ayew on the wing as well. I feel like we have to be quite careful because it's something that we should be wary of, and I don't want it to hurt us in the end.
One of the things that I'm confident of, though, Z, is this is a team that lack midfield control. We struggle with teams that have midfield control, i.e., Brighton. And when you do go back, Brentford, even to a certain extent, but I kind of whitewash those games with our starting 11 and our spine. But this team in general, when you don't have a midfield control in it, it does struggle. And so that's really why Palace, for me, while they have great transition forwards that could really hurt us in theory, they don't have any midfield control. And so that's why we're going to take advantage and we'll have an opportunity to dominate in there. I actually do see a build-up error, like a really stark with Vieira. Like they're going to try to do some kind of build-up in our press.
Yeah, that's what I've seen as well. And I feel like they try to be a lot more dynamic in the way they attack, and they try to be a lot more direct. But what happens is, because of the technical level of these players, they're not able to do what Vieira's envisioning with these players. And I feel like obviously with future investment, he could go in and do that. But right now with these level of players, especially with was it MacArthur and Ward at the back, I feel like it's not it. And sometimes I feel like he should be going route one in terms of the way they try and build up, because eventually it's going to hurt the team, and it has been already this season.
He has done that at times. He's encouraged the team more to like play more football on the floor, but they do when they get squeezed, they resort to Anderson going long.
Do you know why? They don't have the technical quality in midfield to put their foot on the ball.
They don't.
It's just Gallagher.
Even this season, you've seen statistically, we've seen last season, MacArthur used to do 0.7 dribbles a game, and now it's like 2.1. So he dribbles a lot more now, and he has more like time to use the ball. And quickly on this though, I love Elise, and I'm speaking about him for months, and he just doesn't really start. I think Ayew's contribution defensively, and Elise coming back from injury,
it's dressing room dynamics for me, Chris. I think it's dressing room dynamic. I'll be honest with you, because I mean, you and myself, like I love Elise. Like he should be starting, like on pure quality and what he offers. But I think there's just a dressing room dynamic there. Like he needs to, as a manager, and the reason I just bring this up because Mikel has had to do this in the past with this squad. You need to give your experienced players a rope to hang themselves with. Like I know that's really crude, but like as a manager, you can't sit there. Yeah, like you can't sit there and just give the opportunity to a youth that's just come in for a guy that's been doing it for you for years. So I think unfortunately Vieira is in that weird in between where he's like, I don't want to lose the dressing room, but Elise is the better player, and Elise Gallagher is immense. Like Gallagher will overlap. He doesn't have the Odegaard issue of staying out to in. He can go in to out. So when you think about it, that dynamic could be very dangerous. And I think in the 75th minute we will see that. Like we will see an Elise introduction for Ayew, and they will try to work that angle a lot more. But again, I trust Gabriel. Like I think Gabriel has been absolutely immense. So for me, when you look at the right-hand side, I think defensively we're very strong on the left. And so I don't see that as much of an issue. I still see the left half space for them, aka our right, being where the game is going to be won. That's where we're going to get a lot of our goals.
But even Palace in general, though, like they're a team that the first half they're not always, but generally the first half they're a poorer team in the first half than any other.
They're slow starters.
Yes, and then that 15 minutes from the 46th to the 60th minute is when they're best by far.
And oddly, we start well. I know people don't want to look at it, but even City, Chelsea, like we start well. It's just when we don't have our spine there, we can't sustain it.
Yeah, and Palace Palace are worst. If I remember the numbers, there's like 4.04 of their XG against them, and they only have like 8 They only have like 7 XG against them. 4 of it is from the 31st to the 45th minute. So that period in their game is probably key just before the halftime, which is why Vieira makes a lot of changes early in the second half, and then that's why they're better in the second half. Because Elise at the start, Elise was coming off like he got an assist versus Spurs, he got a goal versus Leicester, so he comes off the bench and he does very well. And when he does make them subs, their games have been changing. Even Edward started as a sub, so that's why they tend later in the game to get better. But if you put them away early, you can kind of keep them out unless you're a Leicester.
All right, so just before we move on to the lineup, let's just summarize what's going on. So George is saying the right side's where the party's at. That Joel Ward isn't going to get put in the hospital by Emil Smith Rowe.
That's what you were doing this whole time. You were sitting there listening to the space, thinking of a way to work that in. I hate you.
That's why you got they need to be on guard and stuff like that.
Yeah. And Conor Gallagher is going to be into out very, very a lot this year.
That was a Canadian joke, Chris.
I don't get that.
We say boot in a boot.
He's going to be into out and all
don't
the way.
Laugh,
all the
don't
way
encourage
back.
him. Be quiet.
I'm laughing at why you guys say that. Anyway, we go to the lineup, fam.
Go to the lineups. Shall I go first? Go on, I'll go first then. Yeah. So just let me know if you get any changes. So Ramsdale goal, obviously.
Yeah.
Then Tierney, Gabriel, White, Tomiyasu, Partey, El Neni, Erdegaard in the 10, and then Emil Saka, either wing, and then Aubameyang up front.
Okay.
Just like that. And I'll answer this. Any thoughts on Erdegaard? Yeah, he's cool. He's a cool guy. He's a very cool guy. I like him.
I would have preferred it. For me, I would have preferred a different signing, but no, I will not prop this signing up. I didn't want Odegaard unless he was a backup, and only would have been okay with it as a backup because I think in general he cost
yes, El Neni played over the international break.
Yeah, and I think in general he cost you, especially when he squeezed like the Brighton game when we saw where he had less space and the weather was against him and all this stuff was against him. He doesn't really stand up and come against the pressure. And I think he lacks explosiveness, and he's smart enough to play around it, but it will always come back to hurt him. And although he's a very good presser, he's very good because he's smart enough to press, not physically able to do it. And I just think he doesn't overlap, which really annoys me. And I love my wide overloads, and he takes that away from the team. So, yeah, I really don't think Odegaard was the best of the best signings, but we can do well with him rather than without. That's my thoughts on Odegaard.
Do we have anyone have any changes on that lineup?
No.
I think that's the best lineup we all would have chosen. To be fair, it's just I think what matters is how we're set up in game, because that's what that was the difference between the Tottenham game and the Brighton game.
How do you guys want it set up in game?
Well,
3-2-5.
Yeah, 3-2-5 with Tomiyasu, Ben White, and Gabriel in the back three, and not Lokonga as a left centre back, because I think that obviously affects our build-up play massively, and I feel like the way Palace will try and press us, I think it will hurt Lokonga or El Neni if he was operating that left centre back role. So,
well, I think also, guys, I think the big thing is this will let us press too. I think one of the things that we highlighted is that Vieira is poor in build up, right? I think you're going to have a 3-2-5 build up for us that'll go into a 2-3-5 like normal, the exact same system. We're not going to change things, but El Neni allows us to press a lot more. That's the one thing, and it allows Partey to step up a lot more. And I think that's what the biggest change that I'm going to see is. And so for this, I think Odegaard will be a lot higher up, and I think he'll be paired with Oba a lot more in our 4-4-2. You're going to see that press a lot more in this game, and I think that we're going to start early. We're going to start high off the blocks, try to get kind of a turnover really quick and an early goal. I think there was a comment a little bit higher up about Weahey and Anderson in terms of a weak partnership.
Let's get it.
I think it's actually a decent partnership, but it's pretty. Guehi is very good at distribution. Anderson suffers physically. So for me, It's a balanced pair in a sense, but they're just a lower quality in terms of what you want, if that makes sense. Like, in terms of complementary pairs, they're pretty decent, but they do have some issues physically. I think you can get at that defense. So I
I
think
think you can
Oba
get
will be really well.
Anderson more physically than Coleman.
But I think also one of the biggest weaknesses of Palace this season has been set pieces too, and kind of someone like Gay, he kind of affects that team because he lacks in height as well. So it's kind of something that we should address in the game in Monday.
Yeah, and I think and Eberisi Ease he won't be fit. No.
Who?
Eze?
Oh no, he won't be fit. He just came back into training like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I'm happy he's back though. He's watching games from the sideline and getting pissed at what's his name? Mopai in the 95th minute. But when he comes back, I think they should go to a pivot. Honestly, I'm going to put him in the 10, Gallagher in the pivot, and Ollie's on the right. And I think they'd have a serious...
And by the way, guys, Pepe's not starting for a couple of reasons. This whole preview, we've highlighted that the left-hand side of Palace, unless anybody here disagrees, but for me, that's where the gaps are going to be in midfield. And so if you're looking at it, our right-hand side is going to be the most important way of us to score. And look, it's not about necessarily scoring, but us keeping possession in this game. We can't let it become a basketball game, and we need to dominate the middle zone. That means Saka has to start. Pepe's not dominating. Pepe's not coming in deep in order to put his foot on the ball. Pepe's going to be a finisher, if anything. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm getting really tired of people making decisions based on individual players. Like, having people on the bench that can come on to finish a game and change game states is just as important as people starting. So if things aren't going well, I'm very happy to include Lacazette to come in deep and employ our wing forwards and Martinelli and, Pepe. I don't see... If you're going to start Oba, you're not starting Pepe. I think we need to have some specific rules about attacking patterns that we need to abide by. And those rules are starting one. If you start Lacazette, technical security behind. That means ESR, Odegaard, Saka. If you start Lacazette, that means ESR needs to be kind of in the middle in terms of the attacking pattern. Odegaard doesn't play, and you have wing forwards with Pepe and Martinelli. Third rule, Oba and Pepe cannot start in the same front line. Those two require freedom. They don't play well together. So yes, you're going to have a 3-2-5 exactly like this, what you're going to see. I definitely feel as though that Partey will have a little bit more license to kind of join up. And Odegaard might join Oba a little bit higher, a little bit in terms of the press. But that's exactly what we're going to see, in my opinion.
And last game, the difference between this and what we saw was Tomiyasu was higher and Lokonga in place of Oneni dropped the left centre back, and he just didn't really see angles as well. He just got bullied by his opposition, and he just wasn't good. And Partey wasn't good isolated, essentially by himself as a lone six type. He was really playing as a lone six that game. And even when
it's ironic, Chris, everyone keeps telling me about which I appreciate. Look, a lot of people like 4-3-3. That's calm, but how can people look at the Brighton Amex performance and then feel comfortable citing Partey as lone pivots and 4-3-3s in the future? I don't understand, because we had theoretically what people would want. No, I mean, maybe I'll pose that to people that do believe he can, because I know I'm one that honestly can't see it, and I don't know why people keep suggesting it. Like, I don't know, Z, are you a fan of if we were to go 4-3-3 to have Partey in the lone pivot?
I mean, just going by just his performances, like for example against Villarreal, the one against Brian, it just seems like he's not well suited to be that lone pivot, and he just doesn't cover spaces enough just to be alone in that lone pivot. But one thing is for me is worrying is whether Arteta sees him as a lone pivot player or not. Because I think that's what makes the difference, regardless of what we think. And I don't know, just going by his comments, it seems like he wants to play him in that whole position where we'd rather see like a defensive mid, a different defensive mid there. To be fair, someone like a Kamara.
I think he's wanting to play him higher, because he's even said stuff like, "I want him to take the reins of the midfield. I want him to keep himself more. I want him to use more license to boss it, because it's his midfield. I want him to take over, and being a lone pivot, you don't really take over."
And I think you know what it is, to be fair, I think his comments have been misinterpreted, where anchor meant I need you to be the possession king. Like, I want you to take those reins, and I want the midfield to rely on you to progress, not necessarily in position. I think that's where the thing has been different, and especially in preseason. I mean, I think Z. I remember us talking about it. He was a lot higher in preseason. Remember, like I think that's
Watford, Millwall.
yeah, and so
Yeah.
I think he definitely wants him higher up, but in terms of this game, I also think it's going to be the best thing for us. Zaha is going to want to press up high. He won't track back. And if you have Partey and Odegaard in that area, I promise you, we're going to score goals. It's going to be Burnley second half. It really is. I really see that happening. And also, isn't Oba on a goal and assist in the international break?
Yeah,
Not just Oba. All our guys. We scored 7 goals, I think, in the international break, guys. Like in terms of players.
Emil scored, Saka scored,
Oba scored.
Oba scored, yeah.
Partey scored twice.
Pepe scored. Yeah, players.
We have more goals in the last international break than we do goals in the Premier League. Let that sink in. We've scored 5 goals in the Premier League. And we've scored 7 over the international break. I know, wipe your eyes. It's crazy.
That is not good.
So, I mean, yeah, look, I definitely think that this game's going to be good. Yeah, in terms of attacking stats, I mean, we had a little bit of a segment on it a couple weeks ago, but really what you're looking at is a team that gets into good positions consistently but doesn't finish their dinner. And most of the attacking stats buy that up. In terms of final third entries, in terms of, that_crab, who is a member of Arsenal Vision, did an excellent piece on our attacking efficiency that I quoted a couple weeks ago. And it basically, just to sum it up, because I don't know if anybody's really into the numbers, but it essentially said Arsenal are among the best teams at getting the ball up into the final third, but also in final third entries. But in terms of creating a goal from those big chances, we are among the worst. So when you do look at that, you start to worry about attacking efficiency and kind of just people putting their dinner away. I'm a big fan of making sure that your back is comfortable, that your back is able to sustain pressure, and the goals will come. And I think, we're seeing streaks of it, especially in this international break. I think Oba scores. I think ESR scores. And I think Gabriel might score. And I think that's from a set piece. I agree with Z, too. I think they are poor at set pieces. I think I'm going to go 3-1. I've got those 3 scoring, definitely this lineup. And unfortunately, I got Milivojevic scoring as the one. I think he's going to score one. I don't know why, but he always seems to score again.
He always gets a penalty against us, really. I remember the 2-2. I remember both 2-2s, actually. The one in the green kit and the one at the Emirates last season. I think he didn't. But he does score a lot of penalties against us. He has 3 against us, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think, and we're also due. I agree with Yo-Yo about somebody ready to hold a big score line like 5 or 6. I unfortunately don't think Palace is the one. I'll be honest with you. And the only reason I don't think that is because of those transition forwards. I think they're going to keep it an interesting game. I do see it in the very near future in terms of a big score line. But that's for another prediction.
I think you know what it is with this. Let's just go through a couple of these questions because this guy is. I like this. I like some of these questions. Do we get big chances in those moments? So, I think it's the case of getting from attacking, in terms of sustaining pressure, to making it against Watford. Are you talking about?
Talking about my prediction in terms of holding 5 or 6, yeah.
Yeah. I think we should. I think honestly, I think if you look at Watford, especially today, I just think at the back they're a bit all over the place. You've got Messina trying to drop into a 3 today. It just didn't work at all. We'll get into it later. But
I want it against Villa. My heart is saying it's going to be Watford for sure. But I want it Villa just because of. Emmy stands are killing me right now. I can't deal with this stuff anymore.
Oh gosh.
Especially that apparently we can't score against Dean Smith and this stuff that Palace are our bogey. I can't. The agenda from the summer with Buendia and there's a whole bunch of issues there. I absolutely need it against Villa. But it'll be Watford, yeah.
I need someone to thrust. I need someone to thrust in front of Emmy. I can't lie. I need to see.
He's done
I,
it
I
too
need.
much, man.
I need him to hold that. I need him
He
just
did it
to
versus Argentina. He did it versus Ronaldo.
Do we know who's the ref for the game?
for tomorrow
Mike
or
Dean.
Monday. Monday is Mike
Is
Dean.
it Mike Dean for Palace?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's giving us a penalty.
them a penalty.
Yeah. Like 100%.
And Ramsdale has saved one penalty in 10 attempts.
And it's gonna be freaking Milivojevic that's gonna step up. I'm telling you right now, this guy's gonna score. I don't know why.
I hope not.
I hope not.
But yeah, no. Like in all seriousness, in terms of big chances, we absolutely do get big chances. You know, I think one of the issues though is that we lack in our final action. So here, I'll give you an example, like the Brighton breakaway with Oba that receives the pass, you know, from Pepe. I know I'm killing him, but who delayed the pass from behind. That's us working a great piece of play from build-up in terms of Lukunga firing it in between the lines. Partey fires it to Pepe. He gets into a great position centrally. Oba's wide open, but he delays the pass a little bit. So we're absolutely good at creating big chances. We just don't make the final action the right one, but also consistently enough. So I think the issue is just making sure that we're getting into those positions more often. And if that's happening, you think it's sustainable long term. That's the big issue for me. If we're not creating those big chances, then I'd worry. But we are. So I definitely just think it's a matter of time and confidence too. I think people forget like this team is scarred by like, you know, past results. It really is. Get a couple more wins on the bounce. That's why unbeaten runs are so important. I also don't think that there's been more 4-game winning streaks in the league. It hasn't happened. Really, only City and Liverpool have really done it. And I think we're probably the most informed team right now. If you're looking at the last 5 games, like I don't think anybody else boasts a better record. Can somebody double check that on me? Like I'm going
No,
off
because
the
we've
top
had
of my head.
the last since the last international break, we won 3 on the bounce and then drew 1.
Yeah, we're 10 out of 12 points. No one else got more than that. Chelsea
Right.
were the closest.
And how many times did we lose on XG in those? That's
I'll check that for you. Right.
I don't believe that's
We
been the
beat
case.
Burnley. We beat Norwich. We beat
Spurs.
Spurs, Wimbledon.
We lost to Brighton.
We
once.
lost to Brighton, but we probably lost on XG to Brighton as well. But that was the
We
only
lost to Brighton
one.
on XG. Yeah, that was the only one.
Okay, there you go. So yeah, just for Black Stars, like our XG does reflect this in general. I mean, sure, there's one game which I think we all said the issues on Brighton, but
we killed Norwich on XG. You know?
I know we did, and we had 30 shots. That's why I don't understand these. I don't understand people whitewashing the past. It wasn't just us getting by. It wasn't just that case. We deserved to win on all of those games, bar Brighton again. And so I think Brighton was the one that we were lucky to get a draw at. And I think we said that in the review. Like we were very lucky to get a draw.
I think
to point them.
Funnily enough, that same Norwich team, beat Brighton in XG today. So
yep.
The world comes around.
For sure. Look, you know what? Again, I'm not going to be smug. Like I know I believe this.
I said it in the review. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be smug. I think we believed this for a while, but I think a lot of people should start to just take count of how many games we win, but we win on XG and we win playing well with the amount of chances. Because look, after these next 4 games, like for you guys, maybe I'll pose a question. We've talked about the game, but in terms of Mikel, with managers seemingly under pressure right now, and it'll be a nice little transition, but how many more wins, but wins on XG, let's say, which should back up performance arguments, does Arteta need to gain good books for people that are saying something's changed? Like how long do you think that needs to be?
That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. We have people with goddamn Osama bin Arteta AVIs.
Well, maybe I'll ask Z, because I think like Z, and he's had some good, valid criticisms, but he's a little bit less confident on the manager than us. Like Z, like what for you as somebody that's not absolutely sure on Mikel?
Yeah.
How long or how many performances do you need to kind of think, okay, like he does deserve his opportunity?
I think for me, like I said, I think I need to see improvements. And when I mean improvements, it's not just by, winning the games that we should be winning. For me, it's seeing the improvements against the teams that we haven't really beaten before. For example, playing against Liverpool in in Anfield. I want to see a performance, and I want to see definitely an improvement in how we play, because we have improved that 11. Another team is Aston Villa. I want to see us perform against Aston Villa and probably beat them. And then obviously, after looking at those improved performances, I want to see by December, I want us to be at least touching distance of the top four, or at least be in that top four with a good cushion. I think that's for me where I'm going to be like, you know what? Okay, I can draw a line under that, and I could say Arteta's taking us towards the right path. But that is where I kind of use my judgment. Otherwise, you know what, I feel like I don't want us to be that flat track bully. This is what really annoys me, because I feel like sometimes we will win games that we can easily win, but I just want to see us again, like I said, beat the teams that we usually struggle against.
I think there's a couple things for me. I would hope to maybe push back on some people that I think we're going to do really well between now and the next international break, right? I think if you have wins versus Villa, wins versus Palace, for example, and you have a consistency in terms of maybe getting max points. Like, I wonder if I were to throw a scenario at you where we achieve max points, we've played well in 3 out of the 4 games, and well, I mean, like, we deserve to win by chances as well. Do you not think that should maybe turn tides? Because that would give us 11 games of the Premier League, right? Am I right in that, Cal?
Yeah.
We're on 7 right now, next 4.
So that's just under a third of the season, and that would get us in the 4th position. If we were to do that, like, I think by that point, would that be enough, in your opinion, to have people consider changing?
I think we need to address the fact that there are some, obviously, when people are looking at the manager and the way the team play, they're not just saying it out of spite. I mean, they are looking at some things and they're saying we haven't seen definite improvement. For example, the whole chance creation thing. Even in the game against Spurs, I saw some fans on Twitter that were saying we still haven't created as much as chances in the second half as we should have. And I think that's what we need to see. We need to see a consistent performance throughout the entire 90 minutes, or at least close to the 90 minutes. And if we start seeing that for more and more games, then we can at least say that, you know what, there is a full-on improvement, and not just in spurts, in the games. I think that's what that is what will change the hard Arteta fans out into probably a lukewarm Arteta out fan. If you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, I think I'll be very specific. I think we score more than 6 goals in this run. I think we achieve maximum points. That means 12. I do think so. I mean, I know we'll do predictions on each one. I do think that we get wins across the board. But even if we get 10 points from 12, I think 6 goals. I think us winning on XG 3 out of the 4 matches in terms of that, I think, and if we do those points, we are going to be top 4. I think that should be enough. Like, do you think that's a good metric at that point after 11 games to be top 4 of those? That would mean that we've won more games on XG than lost, and we've scored 11 goals in that time.
That's better than 90% of the fan base predicted. Like,
exactly,
top 4, more goals than what I presume.
Yeah,
Manchester United at that time, you'd have more goals than them. You'd have more goals than most of the league. Concede less, especially considering that half of the goals we've conceded was in one game. So I think overall, saying we score 6 to 8 goals in the next 4 games, concede 1 to 3.
I think we definitely score more than 6. I just use that as like an arbitrary number.
I'm just saying. Yeah. I'm saying, say we let's use your number 6. Say we score 6 goals and then concede 2 goals in the next 4 games. Like, I think that would be that would be good, considering who we're facing and the expectations, because it's mixed on if we will beat like a Villa or a Leicester. When I think it should be like we will beat them, but getting 10 points out of 4 in any circumstance is very good.
I think the moment we start doing that, it's when the team, when all the pundits, they will start probably changing start changing the views on us. I think they've already started, and I can see, like, even in some of the videos where they think that Arsenal is one of the strongest teams to even try and get top 4. But the moment we start going on that run, if we do go on that run, is when everybody's views change, and even teams will probably start playing differently when they play against us. And I think that's where you can finally say that probably, the page has been turned, and Arteta is probably going to go on and run and do something this season that's going to be relevant for all of us.
To this question, no, because it wasn't an in-game thing. It was a tactical setup from the outset. It was just wrong to put Lokonga on the left rather than central. That was just not in-game management. That was initial.
Yeah.
I don't know why he went back to what he was doing with Xhaka last season. I think it was just a comfort thing.
It was a negative point. I'll be fair in terms of a tactical decision. I would say Brighton and Chelsea were the performances this season I'm most angry at Mikel from a tactical standpoint. And they were poor decisions. But again, in terms of worrying, I don't think it's a trend because, again, I still think that he's won us more points than he's lost. But yeah, absolutely. It was a point in the con section.
I don't think it was a point in in-game management, though. I think it was a tactical setup thing, not in-game.
It was from the off. Yeah, it wasn't like there was a game state that he refused to look. Although you could say maybe I think he's getting at you made the wrong decision and continue to keep with it. Maybe that's what he's thinking. But yeah, look, it was a bad point, but I don't think it was a pattern. So I'm not too worried long term.
Colin's going to say something, but I assume he's frozen.
I think he's frozen.
Clip that.
Do you play Elneny based off of ball retention or because Lokonga? Twofold. I play Elneny because he supports Partey's profile the best. You need an anchor, and for me, that isn't Lokonga. But I play Elneny because I want Thomas Partey to be more of an 8 than a 6. That's really why I play Elneny. Not so much of ball retention or pressing or athleticism or any of those factors. It's more there's a better chance of Partey being played higher up the pitch with Elneny than there is with Lokonga playing as his partner. Even though Lokonga has had that playing deeper in Burnley. There is precedent of him doing it. It's just I don't think he's got the awareness, the defensive awareness to be a 6. I think he is an 8 too. I've said from the beginning, Lokonga is a lot more Thomas Partey than he is a 6 personally, even though he said he's played 6. But I went back. Did you guys catch that Twitch that he did with Frimpong? Is it?
Yeah, Frimpong, but I didn't. What did he say?
He said that he's more of an 8, even though that he's played 6. He prefers to play with freedom. It's in the Twitch, so it's it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you could see the way that he plays.
I didn't see that because I don't watch the Twitch, if I'm being honest.
It was on the Arsenal player. It was on the Arsenal YouTube. But you know how he does those Twitch interviews with people?
Yeah, with Odegaard and stuff.
Yeah, so I would encourage people to go watch. Lokonga did say that he prefers to have the ball and have more freedom, which is an 8. He didn't go outright and say it, but and he said, "Look, I can play deeper," but I think he was doing that because he didn't want to argue with the manager in a big media platform. But
yeah,
he very clearly said, "I prefer freedom." Did you catch that?
Yeah, no, I definitely did, and I kind of see where I feel like he's probably more comfortable in that 8 position. I don't feel like he's someone that likes to take responsibility, especially in a lone pivot. And if you watch him during the games, when there's time for him to start scanning around, he doesn't do it. He doesn't check over his shoulders or try and cover the spaces that even a player that can bypass him. He just doesn't do it enough, and I feel like that's where that's his biggest weakness, and him playing as an 8 kind of masks that. So I feel like he's more comfortable there more than anything.
Maybe I'll handle Dresky, and maybe you can do Yo-Yo after, Chris. But for me, likelihood of Ainsley playing on Monday, minimal to none. I think Ainsley, if he does play in center mid, he's been a little bit more off the left a little bit, but he's been used higher up more as a pressing trigger and to give us legs higher up, but he performs kind of that pressing trigger in the midfield. And I think with Partey fit and totally fine, he's going to perform that for us. So Ainsley, he's just not going to really feature, in my opinion. He could be off the bench, and if we're losing legs and we need a little bit more, but yeah.
And on this, for me, I think in the context, I would be kind of confident. It depends on how you go down, to be honest. Because if you go down as a lucky goal and then you're dominating the whole half, then yeah, I'd be confident we come back from behind. But generally, we need to improve on coming back from behind.
I think it's fair not to be confident though. Like the sample would not suggest. So like I could hear your concern. Like I think Yo-Yo, like it's a very valid concern because we don't do this. My issues were at home, and if we were and things were to happen, we do play a lot better off at home. And I think it would be a very nice thing to happen. Actually, Yo-Yo, I kind of prefer it because I still would see the game ending 3-1, and I think it would help to smash some narrative of us being able to turn points around. Maybe not everyone would like to see that, but I'm fairly confident in terms of the firepower that we have. And I think it's just unlikely. Palace starts slow too. Maybe this could be a good question for Villa, who I think do start strong in general. So that could be a worry to watch. But yeah, Palace, I think it's unlikely.
I think before we move on to other teams, I think we should go for our predictions. George did say 3-1. See?
With Gabriel, ESR, and Oba scoring. And Milivojevic is going to get a penalty.
I think ESR and Oba get the goal contributions. Me and George have spoken about this a couple of times, and I said 3-1 to him, and he said it as well. But like for the prediction table, if you don't know what it's looking like, the prediction table is this.
Look at it. It's beautiful. Look at it. It's clear too. Oh my God, you love to see it.
Okay, so that is the prediction table, and because I think we'll win 3-1, but because George is going 3-1, I can't really go for the same thing, just because
it's gonna be right.
No, just because like I need to try and maximize points. Karen, why did I say Karen? Z, what are you predicting?
I'm going 2-0, man.
2-0.
Say no. Oh, I don't know whether to go 2-1 or
3-1. Do what's right. You know what's right.
Yeah.
You'll maximize points when you pick me.
3-1.
There you go.
Yeah, I think we'll win 3-1. I think ESR has a monster game just because of the 1v1 battle, and he always wins regardless of who's playing right back. Actually, he wins the 1v1, but Ward will definitely help him win the 1v1 more. And Curran is going 2-1 Arsenal. He thinks Arsenal will win 2-1.
So maybe we can do like last minute questions from the comments before we go into United, because we have to do a section after all the crap that we've talked in terms of the predictions and the glow. Like we do have to address this United form just for like a little quick 20 minutes, but maybe last minute questions in the comments before we go to United, because I'm ready for those tears. I really am.
Looking at this,
I agree.
This is true as well, which is so annoying. We got packed in 5-0.
I think Watford will help us there, guys.
Same. I think we win 5-0 versus Watford.
He's back.
Yeah, my laptop ran out of battery.
Prediction?
2-1.
Okay.
Calm.
We're going to back up for this. I didn't see.
Okay, we're not seeing too many questions from. I think we probably answered most of the stuff on the comment. Let's go to United. Kern, you're back. Just
I'll go.
Yeah, you want to go? You can't wait. Look, Chris is giggling at the opportunity. This is the most happy I've seen Chris. The entire stream, bar the stupid dad jokes. But go on.
No, the only time I've been this happy in a stream is probably Lights Out. That's crazy. But I think with United, I've been speaking on United for months, getting hate for months since the day the fixtures came out. I said we're gonna beat United on the 30th of November and finish above them. And since then, I've been getting that serious hate. I think United have a poor build-up. For founders that I've said, United have poor build-up, and we saw that today in the goal that they conceded. They took a short free kick from Pogba, 3 passes, and they ended up at Vardy's feet. Tielemans top corner. They got killed in transition. They scored and then conceded 15 seconds later to Jamie Vardy, and then they just got killed on set pieces, which we also said last season when they lost to Liverpool, that surprisingly such a big team can't defend set pieces. So we've covered that. They can't defend set pieces. They conceded 2 from set pieces. They have no transition control, concede a goal 15 seconds after they scored, and they have poor build-up play and concede a goal 3 passes after Pogba touches it. And despite all the great players that you even saw, they scored a great goal with Greenwood. That is great ball striking. As we said, the ball striking will help them, but not bail them out. And then I also really do think that I don't like that people are turning around the United. Like a lot of people are trying to like get onto United now, and there's even spaces with 1,000 people in it of get this fraud out now. Like I think it's like a lot of people are turning on him, and I feel if this happened last season, which it kind of did, he had more time. But bringing in a Ronaldo, bringing in a Sancho and Varane limits his time, as we've said, and Sancho will be the scapegoat again. Like today, I've been seeing people call him James Bond, 007, 0 goals, 0 assists, seven appearances.
No, but
And
bro, let's front it because we've been saying since August freaking 11th. We haven't stopped, and we've had prediction tables, and I got cooked on Twitter for my prediction table. I got cooked in terms of, saying how much United are really going to struggle. And then you know what? When we doubled down in September, we still got cooked. And then this happened. And then now we're seeing the entirety of Arsenal Twitter, the entirety of Manchester United Twitter, and just general football Twitter starting to say, oh, you know what? Maybe Ole, it's time to go. Guys, we had highlighted the issues in terms of transition control, the balance concerns from Ronaldo, how his output would affect everybody else's output. We also were very concerned about their build-up structure. We were worried about this run of fixtures that we said between now till December 4th would decide top four. And guess what, guys? It got off to literally the start that we predicted in terms of Leicester beating United. And look, I think this game showed everything that we had concerns about, guys. Transition control. Did they have it? No. Did Ronaldo, in terms of their output, get affected? Absolutely. Did they have poor build-up structure? Yes, that was the reason that Soyuncu and Samare were able to dictate play. Who, by the way, shout out finally.
Soyuncu, listen to your sentence though. Soyuncu was dictating play.
That's why. That's mad because he's so poor at build-up, which is crazy to me. And so it was like, yeah, I was loving it. I was drinking it in because you know what? There were so many people that was like, yeah, but United's inevitable. Yeah, but United's individuals. I kept saying that doesn't mean shit for the system. That is not sustainable. We saw this with Emery, guys. We had Lacazette and Aubameyang outperforming their XG massively. And what happened in that season? Like, you guys have an Arsenal blueprint for why this struggles, why this doesn't work. You've seen it yourselves. And you're going to sit there and say, just because it's United, it's going to be different? Come on. It's getting to the point.
It was the names, man. The names.
I think what's even worse is I feel like they've digressed as a team. Like even the way they play, they don't play the prissy football that they used to do at times last season, and they've stopped pressing as much as well, which I think is probably down to Ronaldo starting up front instead of Cavani. So I think it's a worrying time for United because they've got all these players that need to play games: Rashford, Greenwood, Sancho, Ronaldo, Cavani. And there's not enough space for all these players to play, and I feel like the ones that will start will probably have a massive downfall effect on the United team.
Just let me know when you guys are finished.
How many leaks? Weirdly though, everything's been Ollie's great at building squads, great man management, great balance, all that in the past month. Stories coming out about Bailly, about Van der Beek, about Pogba, about Ronaldo talking to the board about Ollie, Van der Beek, not even like Ollie came, if I can sit on the bench, so can you, and all this stuff. Like all this stuff is coming out. The balance has been awful. Like, the pressing is completely gone from the front line, especially when you have one man guaranteed to start now. That Rashford, you see, he comes back, he scores, so he's probably going to start next game, meaning Sancho is probably on the bench, and then Pogba probably in the pivot, which is not good. We saw it again today. Pogba and a 33-year-old Matic is not good. Greenwood, great strike, as I said, and the ball striking will help, but it just doesn't save you. Like consistently, if you're going to keep playing that way.
It does not save you. And you know what? We spoke about freaking Ronaldo. I spoke about that man in terms of what he would do to that front line, in terms of what Ole got right. The one thing that Ole is good at is balancing starting 11s. Every single time that we've seen United, he hasn't been able to balance, and there's a freaking reason. It's because he can't do it with Ronaldo. And the goals that you would sacrifice in the end, and we said this on this stream, Ronaldo will have good goals, but the total output will suffer. It happens in every single front line that he's been a part of. Benzema, Dybala, Like, this happens. He sucks goals from everybody else because the attack has to flow through him. And this is the reason that United will falter. I think in terms of if people aren't sure if he survives, now people have gone the other way where it's like, oh, he's not going to survive in the next 2 weeks. Look, United will have an opportunity against Atlanta. I think they actually do play well against Atlanta, and I do think that they win. And I think this is going to salvage the Ole run of form. I think that they're going to do very poor in the league, but in terms of wins as a whole, it'll be supplemented by Europa. So they'll get like Europa, and they'll get Champions League wins. I did say Europa because I think they do drop down, but that's besides the point. They will get wins in the short term against Atlanta, for example. And so on the whole, the board will say, well, you know what? He had 2 or 3 losses, but 2 or 3 wins. And so I think that's what keeps him in the job personally. I still think he's in the job come the end of the next international break. Let's put it that way. Even if I think he's losing all his Premier League games. I think, who do they have? They have Liverpool, Spurs, and City.
Yeah, then Watford, then Chelsea, Arsenal.
But in terms of the next international break, because I think that's the time that I'm looking at in chunks. Don't they? Isn't it just Spurs, Liverpool, City?
I think Liverpool is next.
Yeah,
I know that for a fact.
I swear it's Liverpool, Spurs, and then City.
It's Liverpool. It's Liverpool, Spurs, City, and then the break comes.
And then the break comes. And I think that they actually might get a result or a draw against Spurs. But yeah, they're going to lose against those other 2 teams. And then
Atalanta, Liverpool, Spurs, Atalanta, City.
Yeah, and I think they get 1 win and a draw versus Atlanta, and then maybe a draw versus Spurs, but they'll lose all the other games, and that's how we're going to overtake them.
Well, I can't wait. Salah versus them. That guy's on fire. Jeez, sorry, Karen. Oh, he's gone again.
He's been waiting to cook, man, the entire stream as well.
He has.
Are you back?
No, I'm back. I'm back. Look. Okay, so there's a couple of things I'm just going to say. So first of all, Lies, all the other United fans, Lies, I love you. You're my guy. But you're going to have to hold that. Okay? Hold it. Hold it hard and hold it firm. Okay? Hold this L because it's going to be something that's going to keep coming again and again and again. So you can continue to hold that, continue to play donut ball, and you can continue to be shit because the next 4 to 5 weeks is peak for you guys. It's very, very peak because you've got as we mentioned, Liverpool, City, Spurs, and then Chelsea, and then you got us 2 days later, and it's a bit Van der Peak for you lot. It's not gonna be easy for you at all. Yeah, shake your heads, because it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. You've got Villarreal as well. That's not gonna be easy. You got Atalanta twice. That's not gonna be easy. Exactly, Drewski. United losing is a good weekend. It's a very good weekend when United losing. So
I think the worst
when we
thing
look
that
at what's going to happen now.
The worst thing that we've got right now is that we've got big accounts now saying, yeah, but I always had doubts about Ole. No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Oh.
Can we stop with that BS right now? Because, by the way, at the same token, okay, when we looked at stuff, people kept telling me that Arsenal were at no position to take advantage. And whether it was Arteta, whether it was whatever you felt that the reason, Arsenal were not at the point of taking advantage, and just facts, we are. We are, and we have the run of fixtures. And look, I did say, and how many times did I say it on the stream, between now and December 4th will be the kind of the position of where we win or lose top 4. And I've said that because this coincides with United's hardest run and our easiest run. In the next part of the fixtures, I think that we have a very favorable run in, but still it's pretty difficult. Like, the disparity between quality of teams isn't as great as it is right now. This is the best opportunity for you to see whoever, whether it's us, Leicester. If you don't believe it's us, like I think it's wrong. But if you don't, those who are going to take advantage is going to be between now and December 4th, not in the run-in. So I really do think that it's going to be really nice to kind of come back in the next couple of weeks. Just quote, put up the GIF, smile.
I will say one
thing,
Red.
That's going to be it.
Varane's got 0 clean sheets, by the way.
I will say one thing though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does have 0 clean sheets. I'm going to say one thing, that another dub. I think another dub that all 4 of us, even Willow, who isn't here because I know he said it as well. All of us said is the minute that you get Vardy and Kelechi together, and you actually put them both on the pitch at the same time. I mean, we say these things and they happen. They look good when they actually.
You know what's funny too, Chelsea? I've got some smoke for Chelsea. No, hold on, because we were saying the exact same shit in the summer for Chelsea. Hold on 1 second. Mendy, excellent performances, but who told everybody that the system was unsustainable?
0.02 xG in the second half.
Who told everybody that the chances that they were creating were poor? They may have had a lot of number of chances, but the quality was poor. Wait, sorry, who?
Bro, it's been happening since that Champions League game.
It's been happening because there has not been a back three system that has lasted longer than 18 months. Facts. Name one other team in the Premier League 2 decades that has done that.
They've had to bring in Ruben Loftus-Cheek back into the team just so that they can actually prolong that three at the back. I just don't see that.
More individual brilliance. So he's been dribbling a lot more. Dribbling a lot more from any centre mid that you see.
The cheek of it.
I'm not understanding this, guys. I'm not, because you know what's crazy. You know what's crazy. I'm ignoring that on purpose, 100%. What's worse is when these things happen. Okay, when these things happen, people are gonna say, yeah, you know what, but they were just poor, and people aren't gonna give the flowers to those teams that deserve it. They fundamentally deserve it. So yeah, I agree in terms of what S is saying. If we don't get top 4 and to not sign a center mid, I mean, maybe we can cap that off in terms of predictions for the upcoming window. I think it's vital. I think there's a huge opportunity, and if we don't do anything in Jan, I'll be pissed. I hope that's not the case. I
think he will. I think he's just trying to find out how long these players will be gone for in the window, because I think we will bring a loan player in, so we'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope
more
so.
On Chelsea, more on the Chelsea-Brentford game. I think Brentford deserve a lot of props, man. We said it for
time that they weren't relegation candidates.
Yeah. Sorry, Z, but like we said from the Thomas Frank system would cause a lot of teams problems. We said it from when they first played us, and it caused us problems more than we thought they would. But they've caused literally every defense. Like Chelsea, they caused them problems. Aerially, Tony has dominated everybody, I think. Legit, every single day. They hit the post, they hit the bar. They should have scored a couple goals. I think Brentford were unlucky.
The referee let them waste so much time as well. And I feel like Anthony Taylor was trying to prove a point to Chelsea fans that he's not so biased against Chelsea. And that's what really peed me off today, because I felt like there were moments where Chelsea was just trying to take the sting out of the game. I really wanted to see that Brentford draw, man, or win.
Bro, like I even stopped watching the game like maybe the last 10 minutes, and all I kept seeing was Mendy in capital letters on the timeline. Mendy in capital letters, and I'm like, this guy has been top. Not even just today though. Like even versus Liverpool, he saved some shots. Their last game, he was saving a lot of shots. Like he's been arguably their best player this season. And when your keeper's your best player, you know something's not going right. And United fans have been saying that a lot about De Gea this season, because he's been their best player. Like De Gea has been United best player this season, and that means whenever De Gea is your best player, as when you go back to 2017, it means you're conceding a lot of shots. And for a keeper to shine like that, especially when it's off the ball, you know you have a problem. And Chelsea will change their system soon.
Can we talk about Mendy though? This guy doesn't get the credit. I'm sitting there, people hearing Jorginho was the reason that they were big for their success. Guys, Edouard Mendy was 100% more important than Jorginho in their system. Edouard was the exact reason, that they were able to skip the press and fire it out to the wings. Like he was the reason that their buildup was 100% what won the game versus City. His balls, his clip balls wide, what we highlighted from Ramsdale was why they won that Champions League final.
Yep.
I think it's also because the way the Mendy is kind of built. He's like 6'6", 6'7". You need to ultimately have the.
Is he that tall? I didn't know he was
6'6". 6'6".
Wow. So you need to have the most perfect shot against him to score. Otherwise, he'll just catch it with his palms, man.
No, but I just look, guys. I hate to get political, but like with him, there aren't many examples of really African American goalkeepers excelling like that. I think this kid.
There's not.
And
When
so,
he first came, I was seeing a lot of people like Specs Gonzalez saying he's going to be a boss. Like no way a black keeper can survive in the league. Like,
I don't want to be that guy, but
he's been one of the best. He's been probably the best keeper the past year.
And he's going
I mean, he's not American though.
Massively, so
he's not American. He's just African.
That's what we use as the political correct term. Here, I can't sit here. Chris can go and be real with it, but I don't think I can.
Mendy's been. I can't believe he wasn't even all the Chelsea players in the top 30. I can't believe he was one of them. He should have been there, but he's been saving Chelsea for a long, long time, and it's good that he's getting more prop rather than the other keepers. Like I think he's been what's that guy's name? The tattoo artist Edison. Yeah, I think he's better.
And before people in the comments come and catch me strays, it's the political correct term down here in Canada. I can't sit here and go strong with it like Chris. Okay, I think that's what it
weird. He's one of the best black keepers.
I can't be saying that on YouTube. I'm sorry. I know he's African.
All I'm gonna say with all I'm gonna say with it is that he mends a lot in that defense, so you can't really put it past him.
But he has been, and he was incredible today, man. Like he has some presence in the back there, and I think what he doesn't get enough plaudits on is his intelligence about when to come out. Like he's such an intelligent keeper. Like
it's because early it was causing him problems.
Yeah, and it's like it's not even just that he comes early though, Chris. It's like he knows when to close down the space. Like there were times like. He definitely was early in these games, but it was in the 6-yard box where things were battling. He didn't vacate his zone soon. Like you could. Like keepers get drawn out. Best example, Chesney. Chesney was able to come out quick. This guy was really bad about when he came out and when he didn't. And it's like, for me, it is a very big football decision when to go in and out. So, yeah. I don't know. Maybe a good one is the CM. Who do you guys think will be the CM? I've made no hiding that I think Awar has to be the one, but he's the most versatile option. I really don't understand how we don't do that. But does anybody else have options other than him and Kamara, who we also think?
Xhaka will be back. So Awar and Xhaka's Mr. Durable. So I think Awar is the play, especially just to give you another option in the pivot. You can do it. Even
front 10, line pivot, third man midfield. It's just the guy. He solves so many options.
Yeah, he does, and he's more direct this season, which is good. Like
more goals too, by the way.
Yeah,
I think he's played more as a 10 this season.
I think he's realized that numbers mean more, kind of, because even though
I think he's closer to goal, mate. I really do. Like if you watch Leon games, like he's more of a 10 than he was last.
He has started 10 a couple games.
Exactly, but he's closer. Like instead of being on the left, like last season, he was much more a left midfield. Like they went 4-4-2 a lot last season, and he was like a left midfield, which was very strange.
I think he has the highest XG of a player who hasn't scored yet this season.
He did. He scored now a bunch of times. So,
but like he's gonna be. I think he should be the guy. Coop Miners,
I'm gonna.
23.
I've talked about Coop Miners for almost a year and a half now. That guy is very, very good.
Kind of DLP, great long ball, captain. Like he's a serious player. Like Coop Miners is a very good player. I just don't like the profile. And he can play centre back, so he's better indoors than most deep line playmakers and a bit more mobile than them. But I just don't like the profile, man.
Yeah.
The thing is, for me, the other one we haven't mentioned that I know both of you love and I love as well is Gravenmack. I think he's.
You can't get him in Jan.
You can't get him in Jan, but if you're talking about who the centre mid should be, that's the play. Or if we get champion,
that should be. I think that should be a different conversation because I don't think the YouTube comments are ready for who I want and why. I mean, I've been going on.
Well, I know who I want, and I've been saying.
I know who I want.
A minute, like there's two people I want in, and one wears blue now, so another one wears.
I want one that wears yellow now.
Else. They both wear blue.
Yeah, they both wear blue, but one's named blue.
George is the guy you want that plays for.
He's edible.
He's edible. Yeah, he's edible.
He's edible.
Yeah. he's been quality this season, man. He's been quality this season.
Yeah, bro. That's
good old Basmati.
I don't know. No, Kern, like realistically, who do you think could come in? No, is it Kamara for you?
I mean, it's Kamara for me, but only because I feel like we need to get if we want to get Partey more up the pitch. I think even if Partey goes down, you can put Xhaka in a more advanced role and leave Kamara a bit deeper. So I do think that it's a good move to go for a Kamara as well, because even in the back line, if you look at even in the back line, so you have Tomiyasu and then hopefully an overlapping right back in the summer, and then you have Saliba and White, Gabriel, and you can then say Kamara and then Tierney and Tavares. Like you have your front line, your back line sorted for
Well,
forever.
maybe
So
That's the best 4 centre backs of club.
yeah, you could do that, but I don't know. I want to address the yo-yo comment about could all three of them play together in terms of
They could.
Awar. They absolutely could, but I mean,
Yeah.
I don't like. It's not the best use of them. I think Odegaard would go to the bench if we did buy Awar, and I think ESR would go central. But guys, facts like if you put Odegaard in the or Awar in the Odegaard role versus Burnley, he can't do that in the pivot. This
I think
man
he does it
played.
better.
Yeah, he's way better, and he played the pivot with Ndombele against the Centurions in a 10 out of 10 of performance. So this guy, he can play pivot, and you can have ESR and Odegaard how we have them now, left wing and central. Like they could play all together. I don't think it's smart, and I wouldn't do it, but they absolutely could.
I think with that like suggestion, I think you do. I only see Arteta doing it against a Burnley because they leave space centrally. Maybe a Norwich, stuff like them. Them two teams are probably the most likely does it. But I think if Awar comes in, it's just more options in your front line.
It's more options. It's you got a left wing, you've got a left center mid 8, you've got a pivot option. Even if Granite is not great from injury, you've got somebody deep that can play there reliably. That's done it at a Champions League level. And by the way, did it against the Centurions in City. It wasn't just any old team. It was that Centurion team. I keep reminding people.
He's done it versus City versus Juve.
Juventus twice in different systems.
City in different years. Bayern, like he's done it in Champions League. He's done it so much. No way Arteta will bench Odegaard. I was hearing, he benches so many players that we
and are these suggested CMs press resistant? 1,000%. Everyone is the definition of press resistant.
Miners, Kamara, all these guys are.
Yeah,
I mean,
and the one that you can eat. Absolutely, he's press resistant, but we're saving for that.
No centre mid can eat him, but he's edible.
Yes.
See, the thing is, so with this, I mean, I'd be guarded against it because of having the press resistance against in that pivot. I don't think it's as press resistant as for example, a Xhaka, Partey, or my pick, the man in yellow. That if we get UCL football, I think we can lure to our club. Yeah, but you're not. Your name doesn't begin with J, does it?
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think
who are you talking about?
That's the dream.
I'm talking about Jude.
I'm talking about Jude.
Oh no,
I wouldn't do it just because I don't like that in theory. But Kern's a 4-3-3 man, so he.
If I'm gonna go back, if it's the only way I go back,
he's relapsed. He turned to pivot, and the man just in the depths of his mind, Gravenberg.
No. I'm sorry.
He's relapsed, the poor man.
No. Legit, I told you. What have I told you, man? I love my favorite to actually watch as a 4-3-3, but in terms of like actually wanting to win football games.
So you want to watch and not win, then?
That's what I'm saying. I want to win. That's why I'm with you, you assholes. That's just the main
thing. Okay. Camps. I don't know. Maybe we could kind of wrap up in terms of So anchor and destroyer for Partey.
Technical destroyer is what I call them.
Yeah, I call them a technical destroyer because you can have both, aka Samare, and Mr. Basmati Rice himself. You can have those two that are both. In terms of Partey, though, he needs his police dog. I've said it thousands of times. This guy is a conductor 8. He needs somebody to be that central presence. And so we don't need another progressor. Partey needs to take the progression reins. And I don't get this. We have quotes from Mikel Arteta saying that Partey needs to take the progression reins. So I don't know why people want another progressor when the man, the myth, the legend, Mikel has already told you what he wants to do. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't
No,
understand.
in the making.
No, but with this, that's exactly what I said. I said if we get UCL, I would want Jude. But when we at this moment in time,
I love Jude, but I wouldn't want him, and I feel like he's destined for a Chelsea or United.
I think I honestly,
He screams
I honestly
Chelsea
think
to
he
me.
might try.
Same.
He screams Chelsea. He screams Chelsea to me as well. But I think he might go like the continental route for like time. I don't think he'll go straight back to the Prem.
I think he's coming back to the Prem just because England's up, and Chelsea always have their English midfielder.
Well, they don't have a midfield, right? Like they wanted a midfield. Saul's terrible, like he said he would.
He's been terrible at their club as well. And Chelsea fans got angry at me when I said he hasn't done anything for 5 years.
We had Monstar on who said it was going to be a good purchase, and I said, "Man, did you watch him for Atletico?"
Not even just like even if you haven't watched, say you be honest and you've just watched comps.
Yeah,
Casillas was in goal, Leicester was in Champions League.
Bro,
like, come on.
There is legitimately a whole video of how shit Saul is made by like Atletico fans. I don't understand why people would even make an assumption that he'd be any good for Chelsea. What position is he? Where does he even play?
He's vibes. That's
no one
what
knows. He still hasn't been like played a specific position in that team. He's played left mid, right mid, left back, centre mid as an 8. Like he's played a lot of positions.
I'll tell you who else has been rubbish as well is the one midfielder that wasn't nominated in that Ballon d'Or nonsense. Is Kovacic. He's been
their whole midfielder.
Yeah, they've all
he's
been
been bad.
Jorginho as well. He's been absolutely shite this season.
But he's gonna win the Ballon d'Or. Do me a favor.
I hope he doesn't. But like on the weekend in general, I think Salah deserves a mention. That guy scored in 8 games in a row.
Yeah, bro. He's in scary. He's in 2017 form, isn't he?
Crazy form. Oh
my god!
I think last season, I think it needed shining like a light being shone. Like last season, he got 27 goals, I think, in all comps, or 31 goals in all comps, and no one said a thing about it. Like nobody, just because the whole team wasn't that good, and like he's been carrying that front line for not carrying, but like been the best in their team for now going to be 5 years and on form. Like no one's close to him in numbers apart from Benzema, and Salah's on
and Lewandowski, I think, right?
Yeah, Salah's on like 11 goals and assists in Europe right now, and Benzema's on 15. So they're the only ones in double digits, I think, and Lewandowski.
I still think it's City for this question. I still think it's City. For me, I don't know if you guys have any difference in opinions, but I still think City win the league.
Well, I think City winning, but with Liverpool, it's just Salah's on a mad one right now, and their pass, he assisted Firmino, assisted Mane, scored himself. He assisted Mane against City. He scored himself against City. Like a lot of the stuff they're doing right now is coming through Salah, and I think you can't rely on that consistently. And City are just consistently get goals through like their system rather than Salah going crazy. And
but they're just guaranteed goals. That's literally a guarantee. It's not like personal performance.
I think City wins the league, though. I'll still maintain that City wins the league.
You know what it is? What it is for me is, I don't think. I mean, I think he's getting better again, but I don't look at Mane like that guy anymore. I don't know if anyone disagrees with that.
Well, he's averaging he had the highest XG.
He has a really high XG. Like
in the league, like the highest.
Yeah. He'll be okay, because I don't think he's the same ruthless.
This is what I'm saying. I think that
he'll still be very, very good.
I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good, but I don't think he'll be
he'll be very good.
I don't think he'll be Champions League winner, Mane.
He'll end the season on 15 goals.
You think?
Yeah.
He's getting like XG. Like I can check the numbers right now. I think
it's similar to Salah's. Salah's overperforming XG.
Yeah, in terms of this,
Mane first in 5.31 with 5 goals, and Salah's second with 5.25 and 7 goals.
Would I make it in Jan? I don't think that availability is open in Jan. I mean, ideally, you'd want them. I think, look, the next purchases that we make, guys, are big star players. Like, I don't think there's depth players. We addressed that this summer. We fixed a lot of the holes. The next signings that we make are game changers. It's going to be the Alisson Van Dijk type window. look, I've been skirting around the bush calling it Basmati. I want Rice. I want Declan Rice. That is my dream partner for Thomas Partey with of course Champions League and everything. But if you gave me the options about what I could do, he is the very first person I would do to change this team. And I think he's huge. That guy's going to be the best DM talent in the world long term for
Would
sure.
Would you bring Raheem Sterling in if he's available? Because it seems like he is.
Raheem is a tough one because I love that guy, but it would basically for the right price, and the reason I say that because anything above 60 million pounds is a tough one to swallow right now, because then that kind of means that I'm not going to get my big midfield purchase. That's what it is. It's not so much on Raheem and his impact, because he would kill it here. He would kill it in the system too. People forget how creative that guy was. Even back at Liverpool, like he still has it. Pep made him an efficiency monster, but that guy is crazy.
He does that to everybody though.
Yeah, he does do that to everybody. But
I'll take this. Anything bigger than Pepe, so for about 80 to 90 mil for me, I think on Marquee side.
Jeez.
I think price doesn't equate to marquee, but I think the marquee I want, which is the same as George and Rice, will be because he has 2-3 years left. I think this is the
3
last
years
year
left on his contract.
The last year that West Ham can demand big money for him, so they will be. I think he's going next summer, and they'll be asking Chelsea or United. And I'm not sure. I think Chelsea go a different route.
And then we have, by the way, an England U24 leader in every third of the pitch. We've got one in the back with White, and we've got one with Ramsdale. We've got one with ESR, who's going to be there in the attacking third. We've got one in terms of striker. Balogun will be one, or Tyrese John-Jules. They're killing it in the 21s. I'm telling you, from a striker point of view, we've got it in the future. Mika Bareth is also not one to sleep on. I guarantee you.
Right wing Saka.
But he's more of a Denmark, so like semantics. But still, we got a homegrown striker that will be very well in the England setup for sure. We need a midfielder. We need like a midfield leader for me. I don't want a striker personally in terms of even looking at one this summer. I know that's maybe controversial for people, but I don't think that we need one. You basically get Awar, you get Declan Rice, and for me, you get an overlapping right back option, which is, who.
You've seen it too, Zico.
Yeah, so that's for George. And
yeah, you take it. Go for it.
That's definitely for George, but like for me,
Suleimana, it. That is my guy. That is my guy. That is my guy. Look, I think this guy is going to be so good. He's better than Lang. Let's have that right.
Probably for the same price, don't you think?
Probably the same price. I think Lang is actually maybe even more.
No, chill out.
No, he might even be more.
No, him. I was about to make a joke. Sorry.
No.
Go on, George.
Just do it, man.
Do I think that Rice and Partey are the same type? No, they're very different. I think Rice will grow into a box-to-box long term, but right now he's absolutely an anchor.
By the time he goes into a box-to-box, Partey's done. Not done, but like...
No, he's done. Prime. He is done because it'll be 3 years. Because
but I mean that out of his prime. He won't be done as a player, but really
yeah. And I think also a Rice in 3 years, his box-to-box will complement Charlie Patino in terms of profiles. Like if you're looking at it, he's literally the perfect bridge in terms of future and present, what we need, right? Like he'll balance Partey immensely, and then on the flip side, he'll work with Charlie Patino excellently. So like, yeah, that guy is crazy.
And Rice, do you think Rice has better ball striking than Partey?
Yes.
Oh, good.
100%. What do you mean good? It's facts. He can switch balls a lot more quickly too.
What do you mean good?
I think his ball striking is better. I know. We've seen him score some crazy long shot goals, like knuckleball and stuff. Like,
what if Oba doesn't deliver? I think he delivers. I'm sorry, mate. Like Black Stars 14, I think.
If he doesn't, we'll see at the end of the season what he says. But so far, he has.
No, not if. He delivers, period. Well, I've gone big.
I think he delivers, but so far he was 6 goals in club competition. So
it's kind of why I hope that Chelsea go for Jude, like a little bit, like low key. I think Jude's like a stupid good player, but I want Rice not to have options. Essentially,
I think Jude will want to move. I think Jude is getting to the Sancho dilemma of I'm not starting for England.
That, but also stature in the world. Like he wants to be known as the guy.
And Dortmund going to win the league. So
Holland's going to leave as well.
How many goals were Oba?
Mm.
20 league goals. I've said
Yeah, same. I think he has 20 league goals, and I think he scores more than that guy who shouts, "Who?" No, Ronaldo.
Why did
Yeah.
you extend that? I hate you so much.
I said it because I saw it in the comments.
Can we not include League Cup numbers? Sorry for what in terms of total goals.
Can we
I
not
just talk
include-
about in the league because I think
I
that's more
included
important.
League Cup numbers because whenever people talk about Ronaldo, they talk about goals against like teams like Qatar and Luxembourg. So
Yeah,
if they count League Cup goals count.
I think it's unfair. Like, look, mate, like if you want to include those numbers, cool. But for me, I think they inflate your totals a lot more because of the
They do.
level of opposition. So I just talk league because that's probably the hardest for him to predict. So yeah, no, I think he gets 20 league goals, Oba.
What does he even have in the league?
How many does he have right now, Chris? Is it 5?
Oba has 2 in the league.
2?
Yeah, he has 2 in the league. 1 versus Spurs and 1 versus Norwich. And then in all comps, he's got 3 versus West Brom. Is that right? 3 versus West Brom.
I think he's got 2 in the league so far.
And then he's got 1 assist in West Brom as well.
Yeah.
So, but he scored in internationals as well. And if someone's tying Ronaldo's goals against Qatar, Oba's goals against Angola count the same. So
yeah, he's got 2 and 5, I think, but he's got an
That's
assist.
not bad.
He's got 3. Or is it 4? Does he have more than 1 assist, Chris?
in the league, he has no assists.
I swear he
No.
got 1.
No. His assist came in the League Cup against West Brom.
Yeah,
That's problem.
the
Yeah.
assists is
So,
well,
two in 5, I don't think is a bad return in terms of a start. Even when we're not scoring much. I mean, I think it's just under 50%. So that's not horrible. I don't think.
Well,
It's
he's
too
gonna get-
small to say it's good or bad. I'll be honest
Yeah.
with you.
It's
too
not good.
small.
It's not.
But I've said for
it's-
time he gets back to his 20 league goal numbers, in my opinion. So
Ahmed. So far, Oba, Saka, Odegaard, Emil.
what I think is more worrying,
Oh,
guys, I was
goals.
doing these weird. I was looking back at set piece numbers, and I was trying to like hammer home Pepe comments, but I found Odegaard chance created very interesting. So he's amongst our top 5 creators, but do you guys know that he's outside our top 7 of without set pieces in open play? Odegaard doesn't assist. Does that surprise people?
Not me, because I thought as I watch
Not
us
me.
play.
Not me,
But-
just because of what he does in open play and how far he is,
Mm.
how far he kind of puts himself away from the box.
I was hearing from people that he's so far ahead that he does enter into zone 14 and he does contribute an assist. But when you look at his numbers, he just doesn't.
I was hearing that he's in zone 14, so can't play passes into zone 14. But every single heat map I've seen of that guy's career
He's in the middle third.
is a red hole in the right half space. But
Yeah.
like he has a goal this season, so I can't take too much away from him. Emil and Saka have goals as well. Emil, Saka, and Pepe have assists.
And you can't even deny that he's had opportunities to make those passes. He's just
For
not
sure.
done it. He's just not done it. And I don't either it's a confidence issue or he just doesn't think he has the ability to do it. I don't know
I think
what
it's
it
authority,
is.
mate. I think it's authority because, like, my biggest critique of Odegaard is he's not authoritative in everything that he does. Like, whether that's assist on the through ball or whether that's him playing the ball that's on or taking us out of pressure. Like, he's not authoritative. Like, he's not a killer into it. So, yeah, I don't know. I wanted to ask Z. Like, I don't know if you got a chance. Like, who do you think the center mid signing will be? If you don't want to name a name, maybe the type.
No, I think it's just based on what I've heard. So I think we will definitely go for a loan and not a proper purchase. So if that's the biggest hint, then I don't know.
That sounds good because Awa was a loan with obligation.
Yeah, so it will be a loan and it won't be like a big signing. It will just be to cover for as long, and that's why I feel like someone like a Kamara could come into question because he doesn't have that long in his contract.
Yeah, he's got
Left
6 months.
Kessie as well. I feel like he could just be brought in as well. So we'll have to see.
I mean, I don't think it'll be an early window signing because we're going to have to, I think, because it'll be there's terms of squad management. You have to get people out as well, so it'll probably be a late hour signing. it won't be that early in the window at all. So
You tried it again.
I didn't try it. I succeeded. What are you talking about trying?
Uh,
Man said trying.
But yeah, we've
4-3-3
been on here
not
for a
good.
while. So guys, in the comments, last minute, we'll do some questions, and then we'll look. I think
George,
we've kind of
I
covered our
think
bases here.
this is just for you.
How similar is Cassie to Partey? Very similar.
No,
in terms
you
of role.
didn't look at the one on screen.
Yeah, I think they're very similar in role. So I think it would be very bad.
Oh, you just ignore that one. Okay. But
and I'm the one that had the humor here. Okay, cool. I see you, George.
played in Pepe.
Robots don't do emotions.
Oh gosh, this robot stuff. But yeah, Salah's the best player in the world. United aren't as good, and Arsenal. We hope they impress us on Monday. That's my
mate, yeah, that's true. I had
Oh,
leagues
he's
a
been
lot
awful.
higher than I do, and they've been very, very bad.
One win this season.
But I think Chris, even you had them. Did we all have them except for Z?
I'll look back. I'll look back at the predictions.
He led us on.
I don't know, Z. Do you want to take this? Like, this is you, mate. I mean, you predicted it, so.
I mean, to be fair, I mean, there's not really much to analyze. I feel like it's just the second season syndrome for them. I feel like a lot of the things that worked for them last season,
Like
and rightly so. Yeah, and rightly so, because they were without the fans. It kind of went in their favor. Right now, a lot of the things they're trying, including the pressing that they're doing, it's not really working for them, and they're losing their jewels, and they're not really making the right attacking decisions. And ultimately, I feel like they're in for a shout for relegation. Honestly, if they don't,
Z had them 16th. Z had them 16th. Currently,
yeah,
me 8th, and George 7th. And Willow had
damn, no, I don't know. To date, it doesn't look good for our predictions there.
Willow
Leeds.
had
I still
them
think they turn it around just because of the quality of players. But yeah, man, I didn't think that they'd drop off this far.
They legit have only won one game this season. That was against Watford.
Me? How about that? I'll be the manager. Cool. It's just not happening. Let's just stop doing this.
I don't mind saying this because I've said it
I mean,
for a
come
while.
on,
My
man.
short list has been Marcelo Gallardo, which I'm afraid that Leicester freaking do when Rodgers does.
I think Rodgers is batting them close to the time,
No, they're not small like that, man. They'll get like what's that?
I hope those guys they stalk my profile. Legit, they stalk 100% stalk my profile. So I think Marcelo Gallardo. I like Jesse Marsh as well, and yeah, I don't know. I'm happy with Mikel, so I'm okay with just 2 suggestions. I don't know what do you guys?
I mean, for me, it's Marsh. I think is the main one for me. I think he's someone that I think would do very well in the system. No joke, just Jesse Marsh.
Like, I know there's a joke.
No.
There's an easy joke to make there.
But I didn't feel like it. You need to keep it very. You need to keep them guessing.
I wouldn't take him as a Partey partner, but I would take him in the squad 100%.
I would take him as a 10. Yeah,
I wouldn't take him as a Partey partner. Back.
I'm not sure him in the pivot is that good, but him as a 10, right hand side overload, late runs into the box, combination play. He's a serious player.
I mean,
can you imagine if we get him? United would never do this for us. But,
they wouldn't though, but
can you imagine?
I think I
still think it's a loan, man. I don't think
even then,
even if it's a loan, these guys don't want us.
They don't want that. They don't, because I think.
I mean, if I was them, I wouldn't want us to have him.
Their fan base gets onto them if he starts playing well.
Well, this is actually a good one, to be fair, because we do believe in Mikel, but I think people don't think that we criticize him enough. But where do you think he needs to improve?
For me, galaxy brain, like certain random tactical setups before a game. I think in-game management he needs to improve. So when to make subs, who to actually sub on, and like the tactical setup at the start of a game really bugs me at times. Like the Villarreal game, the Brighton game, the Chelsea game. Those are 3 games in particular. I think he just picked the wrong thing. The frontline balance, he needs to. Recently, it's been good actually. This season,
it's been way better.
This season has been consistent.
Spot on.
The right front line every game, to be honest, and I think attacking patterns in general just need to kind of improve. But apart from that, not really.
I think Mikel needs to improve his conviction. So, like, what I mean by that is when he loses a player, he tends to go back to what he knows, which
Yes.
is Lukonga deep in terms of his pivot. I want him to keep his new system in terms of the 3-2-5. Like, trust your pivot. So if you lose a Shaka, just put in an Elneny. Essentially, don't go back to what you feel has made it successful in the past because it doesn't fit. He did this with Saka. I was really annoyed in that Europa League run when he didn't put Saka left back, and we weren't replicating patterns that were making us successful. And then he freaking did it against Brighton, and he did it after it was too late. So for me, Mikel, he thinks too much about how to change things, and he doesn't recognize what's been successful, and he needs to replicate that and replicate those patterns. So, yeah, I think that's where he needs to improve the most.
I mean, in terms of improvement, I think guys, both guys covered it pretty well. I mean, the other thing I would say is, in terms of specifically in his in-game management, I feel like he's a lot very, very cautious. Like he's very sort of like he doesn't do subs early enough. He's not willing to be proactive. He's more reactive in terms of his substitution sometimes.
You know what's funny with that, Curran? You know that he's actually the average in the league in terms of his first substitution of when?
Yeah. But the thing,
I have it on my timeline.
Yeah, no, I know. But the point is that our games are so haphazard
when they're not going well, though. Is that I think your point?
That's my point. That's exactly my point. My point is even if the game's going well, and you can see a lull, like the Spurs game, instead of being reactive to situations that occur, be proactive in trying to sustain and maintain pressure.
But more if things aren't going to plan, change.
Exactly. I'm not talking about minutes at all. This has nothing to do with minutes. I'm talking about the game state and the game situation. So if things are, for example, the perfect example is the Spurs game. So if you have, we were 3-0 up, and instead of pushing on to stamp it out and actually get the game in a complete spine to completely end it, we kind of sat off, and I feel like we were way too reactive in terms of inviting pressure on. We could have just gone and killed the game, gone 4-5-6 like we were saying before with the Watford game. So
I don't think he's more worried about losing than winning. I think that what he's more concerned about is controlling zones, central compactness.
Yes, 100%. No, that's very true. That's very true.
But that's where he's looking to dominate games. Like I think people view that as a negative, but that's how you dominate, like in possession football. And you know what? We had a really good comment on the timeline previously, and we're going to have a special podcast on positional play. We'll compare it against all the different managers, and we'll say what needs to happen. We'll just break it down, and maybe we'll break it in the future. So I think that's a really good pod topic. And then maybe we can lastly end on this question by Ahmed, because we have been going for a while. But what do I think about an overlapping attacking right back?
Of course you pulled this up, question. Of course you pulled this up.
Of course. I freaking love it. I mean, it's absolutely the last part of my evolution of what I've said for so long, for almost a year that we're going to be doing. So, yeah, it makes zero surprise to me that we are interested in it too.
Are we surprised? I think none of us are surprised, right?
It's the final answer to the riddle.
To be fair, Z, there's tons of people that are saying, "Oh, I'm surprised we have Tomiyasu," but I'm like, what?
We've always said that we need variations on right back.
I got you, Chris.
And the fact is, we brought in someone like Tomiyasu, who is essentially an upgrade on someone like Callum Chambers, and he can also overlap as well. But he doesn't. He's not an overlap. He's not an overlap.
Callum shots for no reason. Just get Callum shots out. Come on.
Tomiyasu is definitely better than that guy.
Of course he is. And the thing is, as much as I love Callum, he's had an awful start to this season. His confidence looks shot. He doesn't look like himself. That City game where he was just getting out jumped for nothing, it was just mad. But yeah, I think that's a wrap. And thank you, everyone.
Guys, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. You can follow us at Bot Footy on Twitter, but make sure in the comments that you write down some of the forfeits. You can also catch us up on TikTok. That's following in the description, and you can catch all the boys' socials on here too. Follow me at GeorgeV_AFC. Curran, you want to shout your socials?
It's on the screen at Curran BFP, and so the other two. Go on, CK.
Follow me at PureTKK. Follow at the One Willow, and then last thing from me is on sneak.
I got it right.
Our next podcast is with EBL. on
Jeez.
Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all podcast sites tomorrow, and then on YouTube on Monday or Tuesday, probably Monday.
Yeah, thanks guys for sticking with us. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm excited for the EBL podcast as well. I think it's a really good opportunity to talk with somebody that, you know, on Twitter has some really good tactical insights. I think we have some differences, but I think it'll be exciting to talk tactically. And we're hoping that, you know, you guys will enjoy it. So definitely, if you stuck with us, thank you so much. We appreciate it. You got a little sneak peek, and we'll offer that to you next week. But let us know who else you may want to get on.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, no. First of all, I mean, I want to give a special shout out to Curran. The growth that he's had on his channel and on social media, it's tremendous. And bro, you're doing ball over passion proud. Like honestly, it's so great to see you on other channels. You know, you're doing so well. CK,
Thank
bro,
you, man.
keep up the good work with all your editing. George, you know what you're doing, Mr. Robot. You know, and Willow, you're in our thoughts as well. But yeah, everything else, man, just keep supporting us, keep subscribing because we have big plans for this channel. So yeah.
Thank you, Z, and just the same for you, man. We'll just keep this going and see where we can go with it. So this has been Ball Over Passion, and on a last note, Ben White has more clean sheets than Rafael Varane. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.